Okay, so here we are the next day, and now this part here is completely dry and solid. It's not going anywhere. So now I'm going to move on to the lid here. So we just got a piece of foam core, and we're just going to carefully trace the outside. There we go. See, I marked one side. No, you probably can't see it. But I marked one side here with an X, so I know which side it goes to. Okay, so we could put it in there like that if you wanted to, but I don't. Like it flush set, kind of like the, again, it's kind of based off the kit more than. So I'm also going to trace the inside. What I'm going to do here is just cut through the paper. Through the top layer of paper. Trim off the foam. Okay, now we have a nice flush fit. So I'm going to glue this down. You can keep all these scrap pieces because they're going to have uses in the future. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is use some of these to reinforce the inside, just to make it a little stronger. And then the knife blade. Just like that. So we're just going to go around and move these things to the inside of each of these. Just definitely hold the lid on the top on a little better. So just some scrap pieces to reinforce the top. So now what we're going to do with these is we're going to use these as these parts right here. So to do that, first we're going to take it so we have the right angle on the inside, hold it up against one of the corners. Framing is going to be pretty bad here. We're going to take our pencil and draw a nice line. And you can kind of translate that line down to the exact corner. Don't cut it off at the line, but cut it so it intersects the corner there. And then what we have to do is kind of carve out a little V in the foam. Very careful with this part. And you can do here to kind of carve out some of the foam so it sits flush up against the piece, and the better off you'll be. Which means at the top here, whoops, the top here you're going to lose some of the foam, which is fine. We'll fill that in later. So then we'll have the nice solid fit against the corner. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and repeat that for all 6 of those edges. Okay, so that completes the basic structure of the base. It's time for some detail work, or maybe some turret work. I don't know. So now you have to decide what you want to do for a turret. Even you know, one of the options even is to take the turret from, say, a battle wagon with the kill cannon and use that as a turret, which is perfectly viable. And it would look just fine. But I don't want to waste my battle wagon turrets for that right now. So let's go and do some detail work instead. So all we're going to do is just start taking pieces of paper here. But I don't want to use any plastic card on this, so I'm just going to cut the paper out of the scraps here. So I don't want to throw away scraps for it because we're going to be using them for stuff like this. Just cut the foam out. And you could even leave the pieces that you're going to put on here thicker by leaving some foam behind them if you wanted to. So I'm basically going to put a bunch of diags at the base of each one of these. Make sure you don't screw up the spines while you're doing it. I guess. Knife and just start cutting diags. you want to make sure you get glue under all of it. You want to make sure also that you get the foam side down. Now we're just going to make some patch panels. Again, you want to make sure you get the glue all the way out to the edges of the piece. Don't want anything underneath it. Chunk of corrugated. It's perfect. The odder the shape, the better. Trim off top here a little bit. And take some extra glue here and there to get everything solid. It's no big deal, it happens. Don't glue quite everywhere. Go back over it a little bit. A couple of these diags that I cut out at the top, and that I cut out of the bottom. I'm going to stick them on. Okay, so that's basically what we're going to do on each side of this thing. Here, and then when everything else is done, we'll go ahead and put on the rivets or bolt heads, whatever you prefer. And so I'm going to go ahead and pause this video, and I'm just going to go around and do the other 6 sides, and that should take care of the bottom part of the Vengeance weapon battery. Okay, now that these fins have also set up a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to both reinforce them and smooth them out. I'm going to take a line of glue here along the edges and just smooth it up with my finger. Get a nice even seam there between that and the main body of, just between that and the main body. A nice smooth seam there, filled with glue. Now let's go ahead and do that around for each side as I'm doing the detail work. Okay, quite a bit of time later, I got all the detail work I wanted to do done on the sides. It's kind of, I know the video is a little dark, but it's kind of hard to get some decent exposure on when everything is purely white. I did grab my forge rolled brass etch stuff, and I could have put a couple pieces on, and I put some pieces on the first one too. On the top, I added some more diags, except for right here, I'm going to grab my brass etch, kind of show. I haven't used brass etch before, especially the forge rolled stuff. Turn the exposure up a little bit now. I had it way down because trying to show off the detail in the white's pretty hard. So I'm just gonna. What you have to do when you're dealing with brass etch, you need a very sharp blade and you need a very hard surface. So the blade doesn't last very long because you're going to be cutting into steel, so it goes dull really quick. Basically, you just need to push through the brass and it'll trim right up. This has nothing to do with this. If you get conversion kits for models, you'll have pieces that have to be folded and whatnot. And these are just flat glyphs, which is most of what the forge rolled stuff is. Okay, so we have a nice piece of brass etch, and what we're going to do, grab the super glue. You should have a good patch of it because you want to make sure there's no gaps between the edges. Put that right on there. I'm also going to glue some of this plastic strip on here, and what this do is going to be a gap filler. between the turret and the bottom, because it is going to get two 1/32 magnets, one on each side, of course, and basically this kind of fills in the gap between the created by the magnets, because you can't really embed the magnets in foam core, because unless you have foam safe super glue, which I don't. I'm kind of put these around the middle here. And the idea will be to, once I get the turret done, we're going to put the magnets on here, and that'll give me a nice place. But I won't do the magnet until such time as the turret's done, just because it's convenient that way. That way I don't screw up the polarity. Okay, that pretty much, there's a couple steps there, pretty much finishes the base of the Vengeance weapon battery. I got corrugated, I got some of the diamond plate, I got diags everywhere. And while this isn't very hard, it is very tedious and very time consuming. So I probably spent, and of course, I don't know how much time I spent, probably about half hour, 45 minutes to finish this up. And this is a pretty small piece, and trying to get each side different makes it even more time consuming. And then of course, when I'm done, I still have to do all the bolt heads. But that's one of the last steps. So I think that's going to call it good for part 2. In part 3, we're going to go ahead and design and build a turret for it. Thanks for watching.